Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I can't hear anybody. So this is a complete uh, fist way of doing this without hearing anything. So I'm going to walk you through Panther Protocol, what we're trying to achieve, and as usual, before getting into the deep, because we are trying to do something which is kind of halfway between the two in terms of qualities. So as you know, in a traditional fintech, there is a bunch of things, including compliance and other things. And in DeFi, we don't actually have any of those things. And what we typically achieve in the traditional fintech is having a bunch of rules and regulations in place. Unfortunately, one of the things, if you haven't been noticed, is it's like a slow creep of regulations towards DeFi. So the thing that we in Panther believe is going to happen is we will actually end up having some of the requirements, not all of them, at least some of them being required by DeFi instruments. And let's have a quick look at the layers of DeFi. In general, I think of it slightly differently, but this one's taking rewards. In my mind, the first layer is the true layer one, which actually has the real value transfer. The layer two is the layer where you actually have all the financial engineering things that actually happen. That's where all the derivatives are created, all the value is being created and being transferred across. And on top, you actually have some subset of governance and all the interactions. So if you think about DeFi in this sense, Panther is going to be at the bottom layer. But I'm not sure it's at the bottom layer. And I don't even think privacy should be at the bottommost layer. Because why I think that is true is because when you actually have all the financial engineering happening, any of the financial engineering happening in the so-called DeFi world exposes itself to everybody else if somebody is actually watching it. And I thought I should actually bring up this one. This is the classic one from The Economist. Kind of talks about, how entities are actually creating value, creating an arbitrage based on getting data. So, the basis is like the Amazons of the world, the Ubers of the world, Microsoft of the world, Facebook of the world, and the Googles of the world. They all do stochastic optimization. And when they want to do optimization, they require machine learning. And the classic thing everybody refers back to is this very old, very classic paper, the unreasonable effectiveness of data. So in general, if you want to have two machine learning algorithms and you want to actually optimize them, there are three things that you require. One is a human to actually do the algorithmic design. Number two is the hardware. And the most important thing and the biggest moat is the data moat. And what does the data moat imply in that sense? What the data moat implies in that sense is like all the transactional data you actually have. So if you could think of the world that you currently have, when you click a browser, your data is visible to Google, they can optimize the ad delivery engine based on that. Imagine the world where DeFi is a far more prevalent, and every transaction is a DeFi transaction, and there is no privacy. Can you imagine what the kind of optimization everybody else who runs massive machine learning algorithms would be? So the Amazons of the world would know every transaction that you actually made in the last so many years, and we'd be able to optimize that, even though you never used Amazon to buy anything. So this is kind of what one edge of the problem is. The other edge of the problem is like if you actually have DeFi and if you actually have no privacy, and given we are using smart contracts, we have the problem of minor extractable value and front running. So what does this really mean? So in general, if you are being very precise, this is what the data that is actually there, like how much of value, realized minor extractable value, and the price of ETH. And it's kind of hard to really predict it. But what is clear is the following. Imagine you're using DeFi and you actually were doing a transaction, right? And there's no privacy. So effectively, everybody else could actually see this. So imagine you are a kind of an institution, or you are an individual for that matter. People recognize that you are very good at what you do. So I go to the graph, I recognize your contract, I deploy a subgraph to copy your transaction, whatever you're doing. So essentially, the first and foremost thing I could do is like I copy your trade, your depth of the market decreases, and the alpha disappears. Now, I could be more sophisticated. This is why I was kind of describing MEV. I could do front running, right? So, your transaction is coming in. I can actually look at it. I can front run. I can also back run. I can also do sandwich attacks, right? So if you are using a DeFi and if there is no privacy, all these attacks are going to be very much more prevalent. So, the way we think in Panther Protocol is like, because blockchains are open and people's transactions are in public, if you were to really want to use DeFi and you want to keep your transaction private and you actually want to keep your alpha, you definitely need to have privacy. And this is something that Panther is trying to do. And so the way we think about it is the following: like, we want to actually meet in the middle. So in a sense, like, we want to provide you with the ability to have compliance, so more with proofs rather than anything else. And being able to reveal itself, it's like you have a selective reveal function, so you as a user can reveal some details of your transaction to a third party. So for example, the tax, IRS, HMRC in the UK, or anybody else. But at the same time, being able to keep your transaction private and protect yourself from loss of alpha, being front run, being sandwiched, or being back run in that sense. So we think this is the future of DeFi, and this is my favorite one. The future is here. It's just not evenly distributed, and that's how I think about the world in general. And I think the future of DeFi is going to be most likely, where privacy meets compliance. I think I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you, Anish. And do you have, oh yeah, I forgot, you can't hear me. Yeah, I'll go ahead and thank you so much for.
I don't know what the hell happened here.
Okay. It's fine. You see, we're live, so some things happen sometimes. But
oh yes,
yeah. Are you able to hear me still?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. We were wondering if you still have a little bit of time for just some questions and everything.
Oh, happy to take any questions.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so like for the privacy section of it, like the privacy with DeFi, like how does it really get enabled with Panther Protocol?
So what we are trying to do is to apply two things at the same time. So we are using snarks, as in zero knowledge proof systems. We're also using game theory as in to do incentive design. So if I provide you with the snark of my identity being the only person in the room, you have 1 in 1 probability of guessing who I am. Imagine I give you a probability of an auditorium full of 100,000 people, you have a 1 in 100,000 chance of guessing who I am, right? And the game theoretic part is essentially how to optimize this or incentivize people to be in the auditorium. So, next time they want to have privacy, they can use this, right? That's essentially what it is. So as more people volunteer, the higher the level of privacy. And if there's a cost function involved in actually having to provide privacy, it becomes lower and lower. So it's like you going to McDonald's and they give you like for $1 more, they give you the extra thing. You know what I'm saying? Right. So your delta for actually having privacy is like, you really wouldn't buy the extra thing that McDonald's give you, never, on its own. But when you go buy a burger, then this thing comes so small, the delta is so small, and you really like to have a drink, and you go for the smoothie, right? This is exactly how we think about privacy. We need to get users of the world have privacy with the delta so low that they don't really care that the delta is so low. I'm already having a burger. Why not have my smoothie?
Yeah, with that, like I like how you brought the auditorium aspect into it. It's like, if you're think of it as like if someone's in a nightclub, right?
Yeah,
you don't know who it is. It's really dark. You can't see anything, but someone throws water on you, right?
Absolutely, exactly what it is.
Yeah, so it's like the more users that are within that, the easier it is. I mean, the less users, the easier it is to find. The more users that are in there, the harder it is to find where it's from.
Absolutely, yes. You're absolutely spot on.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for like letting them know about Panther Protocol. And I see a few of them are in here as well. It's like Jillian is like Team Panther here too, and yeah, Anish, data is the new oil. The community.
That's not me. It's been said by so many people before. It's in the early 1970s and 1980s. Somebody said like, data is the new oil. And what has literally happened is because of cloud computing, the cost of compute has come down significantly. So this is like a double whammy in one sense of speaking. We reached a point where we can actually do processing so cheap. So even if the information arbitrage economics-wise was very low, it still makes economic sense for them to do it. That's why Google's exist. Facebook exists. Because if it was like a massive multi-computing, parallel processing, Google won't be really optimistic. The MapReduce paradigm really allowed them to do this. And the other part now, what blockchain is really allowing to do is that you have a whole transaction graph that's public and visible. And to me, it's scary. Like you could be like 100 years old, and then one fine morning you realize something that you did like 78 years ago.
You kind of find it back. And one more question from the community as well, from Esther, is like, tell us, why did you start this project?
Oh, it was a very simple thing. I've been passionate about privacy I've been working on security and privacy for the last 20 years. And I have a couple of papers on privacy. So, and I've been involved in designing protocols as well. So I've worked with Ripple really early on. I've also was part of the Ethereum Swarm team. I did the original review of the Swarm paper, as in like the orange paper. So for me, this is like a paradigm where we need to actually marry two things, because otherwise there is an ongoing fight that's happening across civilizations. A part of the world where you really care about privacy, and the rest of the world there is no privacy. And the part of the world where there's no privacy, I don't think democracies can exist. I really value human rights and democracy and things like that. So this is more a question of like, can I do something to actually provide some sense of privacy in the DeFi world? And yeah, we should do it. And there you go. Here we have it.
Yeah. It's was it one of those like great one, Anish? Yeah, and then also great presentation and everything. So yeah, I guess the community really enjoys it, and we'll kind of like, if later on after the summit and everything, we want to have you onto one of our catch-up shows as well, the follow-up shows.
Absolutely. Yeah, send me the details and I should be online.
All right, thank you, Anish.
Great to see you again in person rather than speaking audio.
Oh yeah, on Clubhouse, yeah. All right, thanks, Anish.
Thank you.